Welcome to the Heavenly Treasury broadcast, where we help believers achieve God's financial abundance for your life. I'm your host, Ron Turba, upcoming author of the upcoming Heavenly Treasury series on biblical finance. Today, we're going to continue talking about being a trailblazer. Being a trailblazer. We talked about extensively in part one, and part one is really where most people are going to lie. So if you're going to continue watching this, I would highly recommend, it's okay to watch this now, but I would really highly recommend going back and watching part one. It's going to give you a great foundation for where you are now and the decisions you can make today to help get you further along in the future. So today I want to remind you again, why am I talking about being a trailblazer? Because you are uniquely made. God made you exactly the way He wanted you to be in your mother's womb. Before your mom even saw you in face to face, God saw you first, and He formed you exactly the way He wanted to. You have great giftings. You have great skills. You have great attributes. All of that you have in you, and you're supposed to be utilizing that on a very specific assignment and a very specific path. And there's no one else who can walk that path but you. That's why I say being a trailblazer, because there's a lot of times when you're going to be walking on the same path as a lot of people. For example, if you're going into full-time ministry and you're going into a Bible college, there's going to be a lot of other people right there who have had a call of God on their life to be in full-time ministry. You and all those people for that period of time are going to be on the same path. And it's going to seem like you're the same person as everybody else in the room. However many people that is, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, doesn't matter. But at some point, you're going to graduate. This could be, going to Bible college. It could be going to engineering school. It could be going to art school. Any of that, no matter where you are, you're going to be on the same path as some people at some point together. But as soon as you're finished and you've got your training that you had at that point, now you start getting on a different path. For example, if there are 10 people in a Bible college who are graduating, all 10 of those people have a calling in some manner in ministry, in some location, with some sort of people. It doesn't really matter. If some of you have been called to be a missionary and you've been called to go to some other country and preach the gospel there. Some of them are called to be a pastor in a very specific location. God's going to call you at the very end of your Bible college and say, you're called to this specific place. You're called to this location. And if you go any other location, your life is going to be a struggle because then you're out of the will, you're out of the blessing, and you can't achieve the financial abundance that God can help you with. Listen, if you've been called to full-time ministry and you start a business, guess what? You could probably do well in that, especially if you do the same training that all the other business owners are doing. However, if you've been called to ministry, that's really where your financial blessing lies. It may not seem like it on day 1 or day 2 or even day 20 or even day 200. But there is a path that you get on for the financial abundance. And most of the people I'm talking to are not in that path. You're on a different path in business. You're in a different path in the marketplace. That's who I'm speaking to right now. If you are in ministry, guess what? I want you to keep doing this. I want you to keep watching, because the people that I'm talking to right now, or at least targeting, I shouldn't say speaking to, because I have no idea who's going to be watching this. But you're going to have people who are watching this who are in business, and that is their path. And if you're a minister, most of the people who are going to come to your meetings, come to your churches, they're going to be in the private enterprise of some sort. So you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. Listen, I know for ministers, again, I don't want to get off of this tangent too much, but I know a lot from ministers that your income is generated, for the most part, by other people's work. They earn the money, and then somehow it ends up in your hand through a gift, through a tithe, an offering of some sort. So I really want you to focus on the people who are really earning and generating those funds, because those are the people that are in your congregation. But I digress. Anyway, back to being a trailblazer. I'm telling you, your path is very unique because there's no one else on planet Earth made like you. Your calling is unique, your assignment is unique, and in order to receive the financial blessing of God, you're going to have to stick to that path and stick to that assignment and stick to everything He wants you to do. Everything He wants you to do, you've got to stick to it if you're going to reap the financial blessings. Okay? Now, even when it comes to your giving and the 100-fold and the tithe and the open windows of heaven, if you're not on God's assignment for your life, you're not going to be able to reap as much as you would if you were. That's why I focus on this, because being a trailblazer means, yes, at some point you're going to be on a similar path as a lot of other people, but at some point, which we're going to talk about today, you're going to be on a very unique path that no one else can walk on. Okay? So as a recap, we're going to talk about the levels, and again, this one's not going to be as long as my other broadcast, but I really want to focus on those last 3 levels that I promised you from part 1. So here we go. This is where we left off. All right? And we talked extensively about this area down here. Okay? We talked extensively about this area down here. Where for most people who are watching this right now, if you're in the private marketplace and you're not called to ministry, this is where you are most of the time. And I went through that extensively in part 1. If you're here right now and you're thinking, if God loves me, why am I broke? What actions can I do today to help me get on the right path? Because you talk about this a lot. This is what you do. And I talked about that extensively in the previous one. So if this is you, I want you to continue watching, because I want you to see a vision of where you're headed. That's the most important thing I want you to understand. You've got to get a vision for where you're headed, because if you're only focused on where you are now and not where you're headed, you're going to mess up. And I don't want you to mess up, because you're going to focus entirely on the challenge you have to face today instead of the great future you have ahead. Therefore, that's what I want you to focus on. And you're going to be very, very surprised and very, very happy to see what's coming if you stick to your path. So here's the first 3 that we spoke about. Okay, so we talked about a job. Those of you who have a job, once you do that, your next level is a laborer. Then after that, once you get training and mentorship, you can now become a master, where you are when I say master, let me get this red out of here, because we don't want to focus on where you were and the seeds of where you were. We want to focus on where you're headed. We want to focus on where you're headed. All right? So we want to focus, we're going to get to this blue area right over here in a second. But for now, just a quick recap from part 1. Job, going to labor with all of those. Labor, again, I could go through this extensively on how to get from a laborer to a master. And for the most part, it's going to be training and mentorship. That means either learning from somebody else or learning from your own mistakes. It's one of those two. You're going to get educated somehow. So you can either get educated by somebody else, or you can get educated by experience. One of those two. And I know which one is cheaper. It's not experience. It's going to be education. Now, some of you grew up in a family business, which is really, really beneficial, because I want to make this point. Half of all entrepreneurs came from a family-oriented business background. Half. So that's why what you're doing now is more important than just you. It's for your kids and it's for your grandkids, because your kids are going to have an entrepreneurial mind. Then your grandkids are going to have an entrepreneurial mind. They're not going to have to go through the same problems you did. They're not going to have to go through the same challenges that you did. That's why this is so important, not just for you, but for your kids. So that's the labor, training and mentorship. Then you become a master. A master means you're the best at what you do. Your skill set is the best at what you do. You're the best roofer. You're the best IT consultant. You're the best beautician of some sort. Now, again, do we? Some of you have no desire to be number one in your industry. I'm not talking about the best sales per se. It's again, that's the goal, because more sales means more money. More money means, well, we talk about that all the time. Why more money is more important. However, just because you are not the number one in sales in your industry does not mean you cannot be the number one in your unique asset. And I'm talking about this because the next 3 levels are beyond master, are a lot more than just what you know. Because some people could be the number one in this master category right down here. Okay? They could be the best right there. But as you move up into here, as you move up into there, you may not be the best. So we're going to talk about this blue area right now on what we do to get there. Okay? So once you become a master, and a master meaning the best in your field, or the top, or one of the top in your field. Listen, if you're an aerospace engineer right now, you could be the very best at designing an aircraft engine, a fighter jet engine. It's a very specific niche. Now, just because you're the best at creating an aircraft engine doesn't mean you should stop and say, you know what? I'm really good at this. I'm the best at this, but you know what? It's just, I don't want to do it. And I'm going to go another path. I'm going to start working on rocket engines instead. Very different. And that's going to leave you out of your assignment, and that's not going to be good. So that's why you have to become a master at the skill set that you have, the desires that you have to be the very best in your niche, whatever that is. Some of you are hairstylists, and just because you aren't the top hairstylist earning individual in the country doesn't mean you're not the best at what you do. You can have a whole plethora of things that you could do for your clientele, and you continue to develop your skill and be the best at those. Now that means an overflowing cup of clientele coming to you, because guess what? If you're a hairstylist and you put a woman out that's got a beautiful head of hair now, guess what? That's your walking billboard. Do you understand? Everyone's going to look and say, I love your hair. Who did your hair? You don't even need a business card for that. I mean, my goodness, that's your future. All right. So that's when we get to the master. But here we go. What is after the master? And this is so key. And we're going to talk about this extensively. So what I'm going to do, you know what? I'm actually going to keep all this. I'm going to keep the blue, and we're going to go to a new page right now. Because once you become a master, in order to get to the next level, which I'm going to draw this out right now. I'm going to start down here. Whoop, that is the eraser. Let's go with the circle. Master. And I said, next. You know what? We'll do blue because that's where the other section was. Okay? To get to the next level, which is a trainer. Okay? This takes people skills. People and communication skills. Once you get to a point, you can only go so great with your skill set. No matter what it is, no matter what you do, you can only be so great at it, and you can only generate so much income out of it. Then you have to learn how to do something else. This is where you become a trainer. Okay? And a trainer means is a very simple question. Can you help others achieve their goals? Now you may be able to get to a trainer point without going through the other three of job, labor, master. It's very, very rare, because you can tell very quickly who is a trainer that's actually worth it and who is a trainer that's just garbage. Because those are the ones that any one of us could call ourselves a trainer and master and best-selling author and all that stuff in a minute. But after 3 months, after 6 months, after a year, the ones that are phonies are going to die off. Yes, they will have some nice income generated because they've fooled a lot of people. But in order to sustain it, okay, in order to sustain it, you've got to be able to master your craft first. Whatever craft that is, it doesn't matter. You are the best at what you do. You are a master at what you do. Because in order for you to get from a master to a trainer, guess what? You have to develop your people and communication skills. That means there is a cap on the amount of knowledge that you can have with your specific skill set, whatever skill set that is. Doesn't matter. It could be a handyman, again, aerospace engineer, bridge engineer, all of that. There's a max to what you can learn. But then once you start developing your skills with people, that's where the big bucks comes in. That's really where the big bucks comes in, because that's where your communication can stand out. Because I can guarantee you this, if I got 100 presidents and CEOs on the call right now and said, what is your biggest problem in your company? They're not going to say, my product isn't being innovative. They're not going to say, I've got a poor location. They're not going to say, my marketing needs some assistance. They're going to say, I got a problem with people in some way. They say, my vice presidents aren't listening to me. My managers aren't taking orders like the way they should. My low-level employees are not doing what they should. They're just unmotivated and everything. I guarantee you, every single president and CEO and VP of any sort watching this right now will 100% agree with me. 100% agree that the biggest problem they face in their organization is people. It's not. It is not their product. It is not their service. It is people. And if you can solve that people problem, that's where money comes in. Big bucks start flowing in. What does that mean? You are no longer working your days doing your craft. You're actually working your days doing speaking. This is where speaking engagements comes in. Right here. If you can be a trainer and help other people achieve their goals, you are now being paid to speak because your people skills are that good. And people are dying, literally dying for somebody just like you who has mastered their craft and then mastered their people skills, mastered their communication skills, and goes in and helps people achieve what they should. And again, I'm not talking about a consultant who just looks at paper and just says something nice, what their formula says. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about somebody that after you listen to them, you are motivated to make a change. And that's been my goal. That's one of my goals on this broadcast, is to do this right here, is to be that trainer for you, no matter with the Word of God. Okay? That's what my goal is, for you to do something different after you've watched this, no matter how long it is. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. This is your future right here when you master your craft and then master your people skills. That means instead of watching Netflix, you're reading books on communication. You're speaking to strangers. You've got to practice by speaking to strangers. You can do that right now. You can do that right now. You can read a book on communication. Of course, I've got a lot that I'm going through. The one I'm looking at right now, I think I showed this onto you last time, is this right here. It's called Say It Like It Matters, When It Matters by Jeff Joyner. He's a very dear friend of mine. I've known him for 20 years. Wrote a book about 6 months ago. I just got a hold of it after speaking with him, after reconnecting after a long time. And guess what? That book is phenomenal. And it's just something that every time I come on this broadcast, I read a chapter in this right before. And it's really helping me out. And it's going to help you out too. It is. But no matter what you do, if you're in business right now and you're that master, and once you get to that point, you can start developing your people and communication skills. Because not only that, even if you're not at the master level, and you start developing your communication skills, don't you think it's going to help your income? Absolutely. Are you a waiter right now? Are you tired of me talking about millions and millions and millions when you can barely pay your $500 a month rent, that you're living with 4 people on the floor? Well, guess what? You do this right here, your income's doubling. What? Yes. What do you think is going to happen to your tips if you communicate better with your customers? What do you think is going to happen if you make them feel like this is the best meal they've ever had, and if they died today, they could die a happy man? What do you think is going to happen to your tips? Up, 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 up. So don't think this is just for people that get to a master level. But the reason I'm saying it right now is that there is a cap. There's a cap on the amount of income that you can generate with whatever skill you have, with whatever labor that you're doing. There is a cap. And that's why I say, well, how do we get more increase beyond that? This is how. You train other people to help achieve their goals, to go from a job to even somebody who has nothing to getting a job, from a job to a laborer, from a laborer to a master, from a job to a master. That's possible too. Guess what? If you get that point, now you're a trainer. Now, okay, so now I'm helping a lot of people and they're getting a lot of success. What's my next step? Well, your next step is right here. You are now a mentor. Mentor. What does that mean and how do you do that? It's this. Can you help trainers build others? Now, what does that mean? That you see all $2 signs right here. 1, 2. We're going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, how does that happen? That's another level of people and communication skills. That's another level of marketing. That's another level of leadership. That's another level beyond that. Okay? Now, again, can you help trainers build up others? That's your next step. What does that mean? That means, guess what? These are trainers right here who are making $2 signs right there. Now, guess what? What does that mean? If there's trainers are coming to you as a mentor, as a mentorship, guess what that means? Your words and your experience are beyond valuable. That means people are begging to see you, begging to see you. And when you get to that level, people are going to be paying a significant amount of money just to hear your voice. That's your next step. That's your next step after being a trainer. And that takes a different level of skill. And again, a lot of you may be thinking, I can barely pay my bills right now. I want you to focus on the future. I want you to focus on where you're headed. When you get in the flow, do what God tells you to do and stick to this path. This is where you're going. Stop looking at where you are now and start looking where you're going and start doing things today. Doing things today to get yourself there. Okay? Again, I don't want to hear where you're at. I understand you have to deal with what you have today. But if you start looking at your future, my goodness, you're going to get really, really excited every single day. You're going to wake up every single day with excitement. You're not going to hit the snooze button 15 times that I know you do. I know you do. You're not going to do that. You're going to wake up every day excited knowing every single day I'm going to help somebody. Every single day I'm going to get on my path. Every single day I'm going to do something for my assignment. And guess what? That yields financial increase. That's what leads to financial increase with the Lord. Okay? Sorry. I'm sorry. I just got to say it. That's why I'm talking about this right now. It is. So what's after the mentorship? This is, in my opinion, one of the final steps that you can achieve. And that's being a leader. Now, leader is not, I'm talking about leaders in the marketplace. This is where kings and presidents and CEOs are calling you saying, you need to come in. Because now you are at the point where mentors are looking for somebody to help them kind of get to their next level. This is where you come in. People who have large organizations are literally calling on your name. They're calling on your name for advice. No matter what it is, they're calling on your name for advice. Now, so the first person I thought of when I'm thinking about this leadership is John Maxwell. John Maxwell, I think he's in his 60s or his 70s. He's working like he's in his 30s. And he is a very youthful spirit. He is not somebody who looks his age. He looks significantly younger. A lot of that has to do with Christ. A lot of that has to do with him sticking to his path. Because I'm going to tell you this. Try getting John Maxwell to come to your event for a day. It takes a lot more than just money. Because if that guy was just focused entirely on money and getting the most he could squeeze out of, you're paying 7 figures to see him speak. You're paying 7 figures to get him to come to you. I'm just telling you. That's the level that he's at. And that's the level that you can be at too. This is a guy who literally travels from country to country to country to country. He has to turn down kings and presidents. That's how busy he is. That's how in demand he is. Just think about that for a second. Think about where, if you can get to a point in your life right now where you have to turn down presidents of countries because you are so in demand. Just think about that for a second. What is that going to do for you? What is that going to do for you? Well, guess what? There's somebody in the Bible who did that. Okay? There's somebody in the Bible who did that, and his name is King Solomon. This is a leader that other people were begging to see. Now, here it is. The sovereigness of Sheba heard of the report of King Solomon concerning the name of Yahweh and came to him and to try him with questions. Now, think about this. Here it is. Imagine this. Imagine somebody who's coming to you with a caravan of people. And she came to Jerusalem with a great company, with camels that bore spices and very much gold and precious stones. And she came to Solomon and she spoke with him about all that was in his heart. Imagine this. Somebody comes to see you with a caravan of people and a lot of gold. Seriously. That's where you could be. That's where you could be. And you think you're just going to be stuck where you are. Come on. Come on. No, no, no. No, no, no. People are going to be calling your name. People are going to be calling your name saying, hey, can you come here to speak? Can you come here to show us what you did? Can you come here to give us your skill set? Give us your experience. That's where you could be. That's where you could be. Now, what was the price? You think your speaking price is high? How about King Solomon? Right here. Let's go up to verse... where do we want to go? Here's what King Solomon's speaking fee was. Okay? It's in verse 10. And the queen of Sheba gave the sovereign 120 talents of gold and very many spices and precious stones. Never again did so many spices come as the sovereigness of Sheba gave to King Solomon. All right? Now, most of you, when you read that, have no idea what 120 talents of gold is. Absolutely no idea. And there's a reason for that. Because you don't know what a talent is and you can't really visualize it, right? You can't really visualize what a talent is. Just like if I were to tell you, I'm going to make you a Nigerian billionaire tomorrow. You're going to be a billionaire in Nigeria. You may think, wow, that's a lot of money. Are you sure about that? What about the naira? That's the local currency. That's the local currency, okay? The Nigerian naira, okay? If I gave you 1,000 naira, you'd barely have $1. How about 1,000,000? $658. So guess what a billion is? 658,000 as of right now. So you as a Nigerian billionaire would barely have $700,000, if that. Why am I saying that? Because for most people, a talent means absolutely nothing. So, but you have to be able to convert that and understand what that is. So let's go back here. Okay? Here it is. 120 talents of gold. Take a guess at how much money that is. If you thought it was $1 million, nope. $10 million? Nope. Surely it's 100 million. Nope. $270 million. That's how much money the Queen of Sheba paid King Solomon for a day of his advice. That's the pinnacle of where you could be. Where you could be right now. I want you to focus on that. Now, I'm not saying your goal is $270 million. Now, maybe it could be. That's a lot of money for you. For most people, that's a lot of money. For some people, that's a dividend. Right? If you own a lot of stock and you pay dividends, and your company pays dividends, guess what? I mean, that could be, that $270 million could be a dividend payment for you. But for a lot of people, that's a lot of money. Okay? That's the future you could have for a day of your time. Now, you have to do a lot of things to get there. But, here it is. Like I said, John Maxwell, I don't know him personally. I'd love to meet him one day. I'd love to meet him in person. If I got 5 minutes with John Maxwell, he's doing 4 minutes and 58 seconds of the time. I'm only going to say, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. And I'm going to let him speak for 4 minutes and 58 seconds if all I got was 5 minutes. I would love to meet the guy in person. The man has just a plethora of knowledge, a plethora of leadership, and a plethora of skill sets that he can impart into anybody, no matter what level they are, to help them increase and do better. Okay? So, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is this. As you start moving on this path right here, and we will go back to the drawing. Okay? As you get on this path and you move from this and start down all the way here. Some of you are even starting like way down here. You don't even have a job. Guess what? That doesn't have to be your future. It's going to be somewhere in here. Somewhere in here. Okay? Now, when you get there, and as you start moving up the ladder, and I hate using the word ladder because that just sounds really strange, but let's say the mountain of wealth, the mountain of influence, the mountain of leadership that you're going to have. You're going to start getting, as you start climbing up, your flesh is going to say, okay, I did this on my own. And I don't need anybody. And you just start getting prideful. Even if you're making 50 grand a year right now and you tripled your income to 150 grand a year, you're going to be really excited. Assuming that you're not in divorce court right now because you tripled your income. But putting that aside, assuming there were sorrowless riches and you tripled from 50 to 150, your life is going to dramatically change in a very good way. In a very, very good way. Okay? Because you had to do something to increase that much. But 150,000 in the grand scheme of things is not very much. Of where you're headed, it's just a stepping stone. Because the next time you triple your income, you're going to go to 450,000. Now that's a very different level. But as you move up in these levels, it's very human nature to say, I did this on my own, and start getting pride. For me, whenever that happens for me, this is going to sound very, very strange. But I go to an Instagram page, and I want to show you this very, very clearly. Okay, we're going to go over here, and we're going to go to this. It's called the Rob Report. Now, I never heard of this until I just randomly found it as somebody shared it with me. Now, you can see right here, this is a page of items that literally kings and princes are purchasing. It's that level of wealth. Now, I'm not showing you this so you can start desiring it and putting it above God. What I am showing to you is that, let's say you're that guy who tripled your income from 50,000 to 150,000. and you start getting prideful and you start thinking, I'm all that, because now your cars and your house are paid off. And you think, wow, I got a great life, man. And you do. But you think, man, I'm better than the grocery store clerk because I'm better than them and I'm better in their position. This is where I go to see, to every single time when I think I've made it, or every single time I think I'm better than somebody, this is where I go. This keeps me humble. Why? Because if I buy a $100,000 car with cash and I think I've made it, guess what? Look at this. Home of the week. This $28 million compound in Hawaii is an ideal multi-generational legacy estate. Just think about that for a second. You think you're a big shot because you bought everybody's meal at Cracker Barrel for $1,200, and you think now you're hot stuff? There are people right now that buy this with chump change. Okay? That's the reason I look at this. I don't look at this because I think, man, I really want that. The reason I look at that in all seriousness is because this is a very significant level up from where I am now. Now, I do not, right now, I'm just going to be very transparent. I do not buy $28 million compounds. I don't. Okay? One day, maybe I will, but not right now. So every single time I think I've made it, or I think I've done something that's financially at another level, I look at this and think, wow, I'm like this big. Okay? So that's something that helps me. Now, you may have some other help, but I'm just telling you have to be able to just completely destroy the pride that comes in as you start increasing. So with that being said, I'm going to cut it short today. Really grateful you're on here. Again, I'm live at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Come on in, say hi, see how you're doing. I want to hear where you're at, what we can do to help you, and I'm just really thrilled for having you come in today. And we'll see you on the next time. Take care, everybody.